So here you have the skill tree, which we based off of like the Borderlands skill tree. So from this little sketch, you can see here how it's based, and that each pair of two skills, except the last one, has a tier. And if any of you have ever played Borderlands, you'll have kind of the same system here, except you cannot spend multiple points in one skill. It's only one skill point per skill. After one spent skill point, you can unlock it and you have access to the next tier. Then you can buy from the charging pistol or the knockback AR, the bubble shotgun or the chicken gun. You cannot buy the bubble shotgun just right off the bat. You have to buy the charging pistol or the knockback AR first. And these two trees are independent. So if you have tier 2 unlocked here and you have 0 skill points spent in this tree, then you're still at tier 1 over here. So yeah, that's the general gist of the skill tree, how it works, the concept of it. And yeah, I'll show you some code now. Alright, so here you have like the main skill points class. Here's like where you get the how you earn the skill points. It's like just a more fancier calculator. Sure, let's go with that. First of all, I have here a little action, so I can put these two functions into one, so I can call it wherever I need to. And well, this is like the main way of leveling up, because each time you gain a skill point, your level cap increases. So you have to repeat the same amount plus a certain threshold times a certain growth factor. So over time, the higher level you get to, more complex it gets to get to the next level, which is with a lot of games. You could say Warframe, for example, or well, Borderlands actually too. Time to get to the more like interesting parts of the skill tree. Prerequisites. The prerequisites make it so you can make the skills dependent on each other. I made it so that any one of my team members mainly can just easily use it, and just for myself too, it's just easy access onto how it works. If I can go to the editor, I can show you. Once I inspect the button, because these are all actually buttons, because that was the most convenient, and it works actually really well for a skill tree. Just have a little button and do all your actions with it. Works great. Each button has 4 scripts, which I would say is quite a lot for a button, but I don't know. There's probably some people out there that are just like 10 scripts attached to a single button or something like that. So here you can choose the prerequisite type, so this would indicate the skill tree, or well, the independent branches of the skill tree. So you can have independent tiers for each one, because as I said before, these have 2 separate tiers. If you're in tier 3, you can be on tier 1 over at the utility tree. So here you select which tree it is, which one of the 2 branches, and then you can select which tier it belongs in. So if I were to make this 4, then you won't be able to buy this at the start anymore. You would be able to only buy it as this last upgrade, which wouldn't work because of how the balancing works currently. But you can highly customize it within the setting or within the code, and it's just so nice. So each script just deducts a skill point, and I left all of the buttons on just 1 skill point. Every single skill just costs 1 skill point, so just deducts 1 by default, and it always stays that for this game in particular. It could always be changed, so I can make it like 10, and then you would have to make a very, very grindy game in order to get to there. Yeah, and then each button just takes the scripts from the button it's currently on, so this just tracks the script that's on it. So I don't have to manually assign these scripts each time. It just assigns himself automatically once you make a new prefab, and if you rename it, it will also change to the name you give it. See? It updates them all. Except this one, but the only thing this does is just updating the text, the skill points, how many you have once you click it. There's not much else in, well, at least in the inspector to be seen here, but it's, if I would want to expand this, say like I want a new tree, I want a tree for, I don't know, camouflage. Hell yeah, camouflage in the game now. I could just easily add a new prerequisite type in here and just call it camouflage. Camouflage. That's how you spell it, probably. And then it would already be, what you say, a selectable in here, which would be an entire new tree. You would have to make new pools for it, which I just use these pools to make quick lambda statements. There's probably a better way of doing it, but I haven't gotten the time to improve my code more, sadly. Coding takes a lot of time. So you would essentially just copy these over. If you have like a lot of branches, this solution wouldn't be ideal, and you would have to optimize it in a different way. Oh, okay, thank you. Please end the region. Oh wait, that's not the only thing. Well, you get the point. You would have to rename these, of course, so you wouldn't get this many errors. Oh, they're all duplicates. Thank you, IDE, very helpful. The naming of these things aren't very considerate. They're not very understandable. But these just refer to how many skill points you have had to spend in order to move on to the next tier. So this just checks, are you eligible for the next tier? And in here, it checks it with a switch statement, or well, it returns a switch statement. This is a very, I like this way of making switch cases. It's very tidy. I would recommend it if you ever feel like, oh, my switch case is too big, and it's a function where I can return something. You can definitely use this sort of method. So this just goes past all of these, and for each tier assigned with the enum in the inspector, it will just check each boolean if you are allowed to move on to the next tier. And if there's nothing, it's just false, just regular default statement. That's nothing special. Same goes for other utility type cases, and you would have this for every single branch. And of course, you could have more tiers if you want. You can have tier 5, tier 6, tier 7. You can go very, very far with it if you want to, and then you would have to just make this along with it. You would obviously have your variables for each as well. And I suppose I should move on to the unlocks, because of course once you actually buy a skill point, it needs to unlock something. It will be pretty useless if you spend your skill points and get nothing back. It's like it's just a scam. How dare you? Yeah. So here we have more enum, lovely enums. Immutable, my favorite. So here we have all of the weapon types and utilities, just for my own convenience. I marked down what tiers they are beside it. Also, did you know you can hold Alt and just select an entire block, and then just copy paste it, or like it's extremely convenient if you're new to coding and you don't know this. It's really good to know. So here we have a switch case for each unlockable, and that just triggers or calls a game event. in this class of game events, they're just full of actions. Can I code? Thank you. So it's just an action, and for each unlock, I have an action. So delegate. That way, I can easily, and I don't necessarily have to program it. My entire team can just, no matter where, what class, can just call, okay, I want you to unlock this, and once you unlock this, I want you to do, say, by reload speed, up the reload speed by, or reduce the reload speed by, just make it faster to reload by a certain threshold or your given value here. So 0.8 times 0.8f. Yeah. So actions, really useful. Learned a lot from these. Still getting used to them. Learned recently, or well, I knew you could do this for a while, or for quite some time, but it's like the first time I applied it. Here I save, wrong class, it should be the X-Gun shooting class. Here I save the data from once you shoot, which is very useful, because then I can just, whenever in the boss class, I can just use the information of the game event, the action, and port it into the function, which is used here to damage the boss specifically, so you can keep it nice and tidy. I think that's the general gist of my skill points mechanic. So yeah, that's my skill tree and, well, game events. I hope this could have learned you something. Maybe you learned something new today. Maybe this little neat trick. Yeah. Have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll have some more devlogs for you next sprint, which will be in 3 months. So stay tuned. Which won't be by me, actually, because it's a routine of developers. So every single developer that hasn't been on my team yet will have the next one. We already have a planning for who goes when. Anyway, I had a great time making this. Recording this. Coding. I like coding. Alright, that'll be all. So, thank you all for watching, and later.